Welcome back to Final Expense Telesales. My name is Dana Neeson. Today I'm bringing you part of a call review. I'm not bringing you the entire thing, partly because it's over an hour long and some of this in-depth training, well, it needs to be kept within the team. Where I am going to start you at is at about halfway through when the client told the agent that if she can't get $50,000, she's not going to get anything at all. Keep in mind, this client is 84 years young and probably can't afford $50,000, nor could she qualify for it. This call review is with our very own Sydney, who is just featured on Cody Askin's Ultimate Agent. I hope you enjoy. I hope you find value from this. If you'd like more information on how to join my team, all of the contact information is in the description below. I do group opportunity calls every Tuesday and Thursday. Let's get to the video.
Now, I want to ask you this. If the amount that we find that we need may be out of budget, Ms. Myrtle, are you comfortable with lowering that coverage amount just so the kids,
Really, if I can't get 50,000, then I'm not going to take it.
50?
Just
50?
50,000 at least. I'm not going to take it.
Okay. And what is your, what's the logic behind that, Ms. Myrtle, just so I can understand?
Do what?
What's the logic behind 50,000? Just so I can understand.
What is the reason? Just so
Yes,
my kids can pay the funeral, buy the headstone, and all the little things that go along with the funeral, because they keep calling after the funeral telling you, well, you better come up here and pay this, so and so. And it just keeps on and on and on and on, just little things that you have to take care of after the funeral. So I want them to be sure of having that.
Okay. Well, so I have direct access to a database that gives me up-to-date pricing for funeral homes in your area. Would it be helpful if I looked that up just so we know exactly how much we need?
I guess I don't know. I had that figure in my mind. Though, if I can't get that much, then I'm just not going to take anything.
Okay. Do you feel that when your husband passed, that even 5,000 would have been helpful?
Oh, yeah, it would have, but
okay.
But I don't. If I can't get at least 50,000 on me, well, there's no need of me taking it out.
Because it's not going to cost the kids 50,000 to bury you, Miss Murphy.
I know, but they've got to buy the headstone and all that other stuff,
So let's figure out exactly how much it's going to cost. What's your zip code?
38654.
Okay. Have family. You're near Olive Branch?
Mm-hmm.
Have family in Olive Branch.
You do?
I do, yes, ma'am.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. I know. That's the whole reason I got licensed in the state of Mississippi in the first place, because my family needed some life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, ma'am, it's rare. I've never had a client in Olive Branch before.
Well, actually, my address is Nesbitt, but I live with my daughter. We live about in the middle. South Haven one way, Hernando the other, and Olive Branch the other. So we're kind of in the middle.
Okay.
Nesbitt,
yes,
you probably know where that's at.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. You and my aunt may have passed each other on the road a couple times.
Probably.
All right. Let's see. Did you have a specific funeral home that you had in mind, Miss Myrtle?
A specific amount?
Funeral home that you wanted to use?
Oh, probably Brantley.
Brantley Phillips Funeral Home of Hernando. I see him right here.
Do what?
So, yep, I see Brantley Phillips Funeral Home right here. So, for them, Miss Myrtle, for everything, including plot, headstone, embalming, dressing and casketing, visitation, plot, everything. It's going to cost you right at about $10,000 for a full funeral.
Okay.
For everything. Okay. So it's not going to cost you anywhere near $50,000.
I know, but I'd like to leave them a little something too.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Now, do you think? Because listen, Miss Myrtle, we can look at that amount. We can see if you're eligible for that amount.
Okay.
I want you to be prepared though. 50,000 at 85 is going to be high. And you told me earlier.
Really?
That, yeah, I know you told me earlier that it was hard for you to come out of pocket 5,000. You paid on it for 5 years.
Yeah.
And your main concern was that your children aren't coming out of pocket for anything when you pass away.
Right.
So I know you said if you couldn't get 50,000, you didn't want anything. Do you think that 5 or 10,000 for the kids would help?
Well, it would probably help, but $5,000 or $10,000 a month. I mean, that don't sound like anything, you know.
Well, 10,000 with Brantley Phillips Funeral Home would cover everything. It's gonna keep Mona, Steve, and Rick from coming out of pocket anything.
Yeah.
And I know we talked earlier, and you said it would be a stretch for them to pay out of pocket. And as a mother, you didn't even want to put them in that position.
Right.
Okay. So, are you comfortable with coming down on that 50,000 to make sure that your children aren't paying for your expenses when you pass?
Well, just look and see how much I can get, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Okay. What is your date of birth, Miss Myrtle?
32940.
All right, let's pause. I was just typing. We already went from if I can't get 50, I'm not doing anything, to, well, let's see how much I can get. Right? So we're already getting there. All right, so this is so important right here, what just happened. This is where a lot of people mess up. Right? This is where a lot of people mess up, where we cannot just quote people how much they're asking for, because we should already know, there's no way she's going to be able to afford it. She's not going to qualify for it. And she doesn't even need that much coverage. So my favorite question of this whole thing was, what's the logic behind that? Or how did you come up with that? Right? Was such a great open-ended question to start getting her to talk about why 50,000 is so important to her. And then, bridging into, well, let's see how much it will actually cost. I didn't hear you say, unless I was getting distracted, did you already ask her how much her husband's funeral was?
I think she told me like 10,000.
10,000. Okay. And so if your husband's funeral was 10,000, and I know you want to leave your kids extra, right? I know you want to leave your kids extra, and I hear that in your heart, and I hear that's important to you. But is it more important to make sure that they don't have to come out of pocket, or is it more important to leave them extra? Because if you do nothing, then what? What happens to them then? Right? So the all or nothing mentality, getting them out of that, it's like 911. I was like, SOS. We have to get them out of the all or none mentality. And that's just a defense mechanism, right? That she has right now. All right, let's open it up to other thoughts and questions about this. So good. Who wants to contribute to this part of the conversation?
I just loved how she was able to reframe and put her back into pain when she wanted to make sure she don't have this pain on her children. So she brought that back up in a way that it made it easier. Just reframing it and it just restating that part. So I love it when you can actually reframe that part to get them to talk themselves down that ledge. Good job, Cindy.
Yeah, what I loved is I love how comfortable you are, Sydney. And I love like in the time that I've been here on the team, because you've been here longer than us, even just in the time that I've been here, like seeing your growth. Um, because listening to the call right there, there's little moments, and I don't think Miss Myrtle would pick up on it. There's little moments where I can tell that you still uh, there's still that little piece of you that wants to get uncomfortable, and you catch yourself now. And even 2, 3 months ago, you didn't sometimes, and you'd get uncomfortable and get a little flustered. And so it's really cool to see it paying off and see you just stay comfortable, um, and catch yourself. And I just want to, congratulate you for that. And I think that's really cool to see because there's a lot of different things that you could say there, right? And I thought what you said was good. But there's a lot of different things that you could say there. There's like so many different ways to skin the cat, but the biggest thing is just being comfortable. Because if you get uncomfortable, they are definitely going to be uncomfortable. And
Yes.
really, really good job.
I didn't hear any hesitation, by the way, in your voice. I heard you get nervous just because like we know, right? Like we know what that means, but she didn't hear you get nervous. She didn't hear any hesitation or backpedaling in your voice. You maintained that control with the empathy combined. And by the way, how fire is Caden's feedback today? Thank you for being here,
I know.
Caden. Like you're providing such great feedback to Sydney and to everyone else on the team. And I want to thank you
So
for being
helpful.
here. Thank you. All right, we have hands up. Steve.
Yep, I just wanted to go ahead and say I really am enjoying the pace that Sydney is using throughout this whole conversation, and how she's staying in the moment with Miss Myrtle, staying in control, and not using unnecessary comments. So she's keeping it condensed, even though she's using the proper verbiage to move the conversation along in the right format. So just overall, a great job, Sydney.
Yeah, the pace
Thank
is
you.
incredible. Tim.
And a couple of us threw this in the chat when Sydney said, "You told me earlier that." And the only reason she could say that is because she did such a good job in discovery. And she listened to her and she remembered what she said. And now that's why we do discovery, so we can use that later.
Exactly. That is why we do discover. We don't just do it for the sake of asking questions and getting people to tell themselves why they need it. We get it so we can understand exactly how to help someone get out of their own way. Right now, Miss Myrtle is getting in her own way. And Sydney is reminding her of why they're on the phone in the first place. And the alternative to not getting 50,000 is nothing. That's the only alternative, right? Helping her see that we have to ease the burden and what is the impact that will have on the kids if you don't do anything at all. Like that's the conversation they're having. Geneva.
Yeah, I would say that Sydney did a really good job of planting seeds early on because she knew that it was going to be way too high for what she was wanting by saying like, wouldn't it have it been nice for you to have 5,000 to ease the burden when your husband passed away? I felt that was a really nice place, seed plant. And then when I don't know. I wrote this down as far as like when she was like, now if we can find you something, you're going to be stuck with me. I'm going to be your agent for life. And Miss Myrtle seemed to really like that. So it's kind of like a plan of like, I'm going to be your agent. I'm going to get through this with you.
Good observation. All right, last question for Chris, and then we're gonna play a little bit more when we hear quotes.
Yeah, I think one thing that's really unique too that, you know, hats off to Sydney, but is that the time that she took in the beginning, the slow pace, the really making the connection, getting her to feel comfortable with her, allowed this to be not so combative. Because you'll get, you know, some folks that will be like, well, then if you're not giving me 50,000, I don't need anything. Click. And they'll just like, you know, hang up on you. So a lot of that, you know, helped her to get here. So therefore she could have this really difficult kind of, you know, conversation with the client without them getting, you know, upset. So that was one thing I noticed.
All right, good stuff.
You can probably fast forward through the next like 3 or 4 minutes.
I will. The health questions.
Because I just presented her one price or one quote and we went with it.
All right, let's see.
Miss Myrtle, I see what company's going to be giving you the best pricing. Okay.
Okay.
Now, at this point, you would not be eligible for 50,000 with any company in the United States. Okay.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Okay,
one of the ads said up to 85, you could get 50,000.
Yes, the good news is we can get you some coverage. Okay. Now, my recommendation for you, Miss Myrtle, would not have been 50,000 anyway. We talked about earlier. We want to make sure we're looking into some comfortable and affordable options, and I don't even think you need anywhere near 50,000. Okay. So let's look into a few different options for you. First, do you have a pen and a paper nearby?
I don't.
Okay. The first thing we're going to look at, there's a company called American Amicable. They've been around for well over 100 years, and they're A-rated on both the Better Business Bureau and AM Best. Okay. So, you know, you're going with a reputable company that's well established, and that's going to pay your children when you pass. Okay.
Okay.
Now, one thing that I really like about them, a couple things. They pay out very quickly. So if something happened to you on a Monday, your kids, as soon as they provide the fax over, take a picture of the death certificate, your children will get that money within 48 hours, 2 days. Okay. So they're not going to be coming out of pocket for anything. They'll have that money within 48 hours. Does that sound helpful?
Yeah.
Okay. Now you qualify so far for coverage starting on day 1. So what that means is if you said, Sydney, I like this policy. I want my first payment to be on the 3rd of the month. No, that means starting on the 3rd of the month, Miss Myrtle, if something happened to you, your family would get, you're fully covered. your children are getting that money immediately. There's no waiting period, nothing like that. Okay?
Okay.
So first I want you to see what it would be to just cover those funeral expenses. So that way Rick, Steve, and Mona aren't coming out of pocket for anything. Okay? So we're first going to take a look at a $10,000. Now, that would double in the case of an accident to a $20,000. So if you got in a car accident, you tripped and fell, it's going to double to a 20, okay?
Okay.
That's going to be right at $166 a month. Before we look at other options, how do you feel right there?
Well, I could probably do 166 a month.
Okay.
But just
So that's gonna-
10,000.
Well,
I
so
guess that was.
that's to ensure that the kids aren't coming out of pocket, Miss Myrtle.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, how would that feel if you knew that your children, like, you can go to bed at night knowing that your children aren't going to have to go what you went through when your husband passed? Like, how would that feel?
Yeah, no.
Okay. So we're going to make sure we're getting you approved for this policy. What is your middle initial, Miss Myrtle?
R.
R. Okay.
Amazing. Amazing. Everyone give Sydney a round of applause.